Good evening, keepers of the cash. Gary B, the casual comic guy here. We are here for another episode of In the Hot Seat with the usual suspects. My good buddy Jimmy the Don is running a little behind. His girls have soccer. Over here, welcome my guest, Nick from Nick's Kix and Comix.
Hello, guys. How's it going?
Good. And down below, our guest tonight is none other than Joe from Anachronic Comics. How you doing, Joe?
You know, Gary, with that start, I felt like I had to pull out my my Glock and start shooting with that stuff like that. That sounds made me feel like I needed to get my gun out, you know?
Where do we get the big light on you, Joe? So how are you doing this evening, sir?
I'm doing really well, thanks. Yeah, I happened to come back to New York from the Cape. I had a few things I needed to get done. And so I'm in my comic book room, surrounded by a ton of comics that I need to catalog or put something like that. So when I came back, I said, damn, I can't remember I had all these comics here to work on, you know?
Right, that's the collector's bane is their own inventory.
Well, but see, when I'm not here, I forget about it. Then I come back and I say, oh my God.
Right. Now, how many of those that are there have you read, Joe?
Not many.
Right.
Not many.
Also the collector's bane, right?
Well, you know, it's kind of funny because one of the things that has happened to me is that I thought when I retired, I'd be able to read more, you know, including books. You know, I read a lot of books, the comic books. But what's happened is I just don't seem to be able to get to the point where I can do it. My son always laughs at me when I tell him, you know, I don't have time to do this. He says, but you're retired. I said, yeah, but retirement is not what you think it is. And it's not what I thought it was going to be. And so with the channel too, I've learned a lot. I look at stuff and I do read some things, some digitally and some others, but I found that I'm not reading as much. I'm collecting. There's some comics I want to read. Like I have ENIAC, I have all the, all of the copies, but I haven't read any yet, you know. Nice House on the Lake, I have the first two issues, but I haven't read anything yet. I have a bunch of them and they're just piled up. I said, okay, you got to read this one. I got to read this one. So that's kind of what's happening with me right now.
Yeah. I mean, you probably have comics coming out of the walls. I mean, you're finding stuff in the basement, you're finding stuff in the closet.
No more finds. I think I found stuff in my father's house. That was the first find. And that was pretty cool. I thought I had all the stuff out of there, but he passed away in 2016, and then when we sold the house, went up in the attic and I found some comics that I didn't know were there, and they were in the mailers, you know. But then the one down in the basement, that was kind of weird, I have to tell you. I've been in this house 22 years and I didn't know it was it wasn't down there, you know. I said, wow, look what's this. And there were pretty cool comics in there too, some of them.
Sure. Those mailer videos were cool because I always heard about the subscription increases, but I never actually saw them in the thing and taken out. And those videos I thought were pretty cool to see them actually come out and.
But
amazing.
Do you remember, Joe, putting those comics in the basement? Was that when you first moved into the house?
When we first moved, if you saw that box, it said Joe's bedroom closet, right? And I just never got up into the closet. Now, I can't tell you honestly whether that I may not have saw it at some point in time in the past, but if I did, I didn't remember anything about it. And so when we have some stuff downstairs. I was involved with the Boy Scouts for a very long time. I still am, but not as much. And so I was moving some stuff out. I told my son, here's some of your camping stuff. Do you want it? You know, he lives up in Troy, New York now. And so he took some stuff, whatever else. I was trying to make some room so I could put some long boxes on some of these shelves. And then I moved over to another side where there was my wife had some Christmas stuff and all that. And I said, what's in this box? And I went, what? I said, what? And that was like, oh my God. So I just brought it upstairs and I said, I have to make a video. And I actually made that video about 2 months ago. And I didn't like the way it looked. But the whole point of it was to be surprised with the audience, right?
Right.
So a guy actually put a comment down saying, you know, this was really a sucky video the way you did it. You should have had a table there and move the stuff out. And I sat down there and I said, you're right. But that's why I didn't show the video right away. But I didn't want to lose that element of surprise, So I said, I'm just gonna show it the way it is, even though it was a little bit off center and all that. I said, because it was kind of fun just to do.
That's all right. There's nothing wrong with being genuine. I think that'll play better in the long run anyway.
Agreed.
Now, on your channel too, we've seen you find a lot of surprise stuff you didn't know you had. What was the biggest surprise book to you that you found that you forgot you had or didn't know that you had? And you were just like, I can't believe I own this.
Well, that Spider-Man 101, I think, with Morbius was a pretty big one.
Yeah, that's incredible.
That the first, as a matter of fact, that's off to a CGC for Roy Thomas's signature now. It's already gone.
Wow.
And one of my friends, I don't know if he's on here or not or whatever like that, but he already wrote to me, goes, I've been trying to find that comic. Are you thinking of selling it? I said, nah. I said, it's on its way to CGC already.
That's a great book to have.
Yeah. So it's probably the biggest one. Though there were some others, like the first Silver Age appearance of Two-Face was a pretty big one, I think. But a lot of the others, if you looked at them, a lot of the war comics and some of the others that I have there, they were just comics that meant something to me way back when I bought them. And so to me, just seeing them again. I mean, I had Tarzan 1 to 4. I mean, who the heck cares about Tarzan? But I liked it when I was a kid.
The Marvel or DC Tarzan?
Those were the DC Tarzans.
Okay.
I'm putting on my glasses so I could see the stuff.
That was the Joe Kubert ones, right?
Yes, that's right. So they're pretty cool, but, was it Korak, son of Tarzan, or whatever his name was? I mean, to me, people really don't care about those things, but to me, it was like I remember reading those comics and having those comics. So it was just a great find.
No, you know what? Our LCS here to buy in the back issue bins. I got a couple here. I got some of the Marvels because it was John Buscema.
Right.
And, and then you get, and back in the day too, man, what great talents to have to choose from, right? You get stuck with John Buscema or you get stuck with Joe Kubert. There's no losses there. All great stuff.
Well, one interesting thing is some of the other ones that I found, I had a lot of those, some Neil Adams Batman covers. And Neil Adams is definitely my favorite. I mean, going to the New York Comic Con, I would always go back by his table, and I have a number of comics signed by him, including like some really crazy ones that he put together. But I just love sitting down and talking to him, figuratively sitting down. He would sit down and I would be standing up and talking to him about just the history of comics and what he did. And he would talk about it. And I just loved it. So when I found those covers there, those Batman covers, I was like, wow, this is terrific. And that was another great find for me. And I was really happy with those.
And they were all in beautiful condition as well. So
pretty good, pretty good for comics that are like from, late 60s, early 70s,
And I'm a big Neil Adams fan myself, but what I like some of the Neil Adams stuff is I already showed his Conan cover, which was Conan 37.
Right.
But a lot of people didn't know he was doing the old Savage Tales covers too, back when they had Conan on him. He's got some great Savage Tales covers.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Yeah, so he's one of my favorites for sure. And so finding those copies in there was a real plus, something I really loved.
Now, what have you found over there? You said you when you got back, you were surprised. You saw a bunch of books you didn't know you had. You were surrounded by the stacks. You got any gems over there with yourself?
Well, what I did was I told you since I was in New York, what I did is I went out and I pulled out some comics that I thought I'd show you guys that I bought when I was a kid, including some that I bought for 2 cents. There are three videos coming out about that soon, as soon as I get it together. But I bought them from my best friend, and I'm not sure if he's a little gun shy. I'd like to get him on the video when I show them, but because there's a whole story behind that. But let me show you a couple of comics I have here. First, I'll show you some of the. Let's see. Well, this is one that I had there. It's the first appearance of the Teen Titans, although they weren't called the Teen Titans at the time.
Oh wow!
So that's pretty cool. So I bought this when I was a kid. And what was it? 12 cents. Yeah, that was a bane when it went up from 10 to 12. That was a pain. Well, you couldn't buy as many comics anymore. So
right.
We would sit on the corner and figure out who would buy which comics. So we couldn't even, with a buck, we couldn't buy 10 comics a piece anymore. So my friend John would buy some. This thing keeps popping up. My friend John would buy some, and then I would buy some. And he said, well, you buy the Batman, I'll buy the Superman, you buy this, you buy that. And that way we still got to see the comics we would buy, you know, and we just put our money together. And that's why some of the comics are not in the greatest of shape, you know.
Hey, yeah, so that leads me to my question. Like back then, was your thinking, should I keep them nice? Should I keep the good condition, or just go ahead and read them?
No, no way. As a matter of fact, we lived in an apartment in Greenwich Village, and it was nice. It was a nice apartment in that I had a small bedroom to myself, and there was a small built-in bookcase that was underneath the window, and so my comics were just packed in there, any which way. That was basically it.
Plus, sharing them with your friends, right?
Yeah, we would share. We'd sit on the stoop, bring our comics down, and we'd buy them, you know, and we'd end up, you know, sharing them. Some of the comics I have, I'm not even sure that they were mine, to be honest with you. You know, but I ended up with them. This is one of them. I had this on one of my videos before, you know.
Oh,
and
nice.
This is a great comic, and I'm sitting down and I'm saying to myself, I'm not even sure this was mine, you know. I certainly don't remember buying it, but it's great to have it. It's not in great shape. It's missing a piece at the top here and stuff, but to me, that's a great comic to have, and I'm really happy that I have the comics. And the interesting thing about it was, you know, if you look at my very first video, I kind of explain that I have a 2 cents collection, which are the comics that I paid 2 cents for my friend from. But I also have something I called the comics my mom let me keep. And what that meant is, and people say, what does that mean? Your mother let you keep. When we moved from Manhattan to Staten Island, which is an outer borough, my parents bought a house. So we moved in 1969. And I had a ton of comics in that room. And when we moved, my mom said, well, you can't bring all these comics with you. Now, in retrospect, you say to yourself, I'm moving from an apartment to a house. Why can't I bring the comics with me?
You would think more space.
You got room.
You know, but I was a kid and I was starting college too. You know, I think the first year of college. And so I was getting a little busy. And so I said, okay. And so I probably got rid of about half the comics that I had at that time. So I still have, you know, a bunch of them, but I'd say I probably had about maybe 600-700 comics at that time. And so I was probably left with more like, you know, 300 to 400 from that time that were there. So that's unfortunate because I keep on wondering, wow, you know, because I have an amazing adult fantasy. That's what Amazing Fantasy was called before the 15 with Spider-Man. I have number 10. I have it here. And I keep saying, did I ever have a number 15?
Don't do that to yourself, Joe.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that something?
Yeah, I mean, we could all go down those roads, and they're not fun. All the ones we used to have.
I know, but I threw them out. That's the bad thing about it.
Do you remember
from my house, and I don't even own them anymore? I'm sorry, Nick. Go ahead.
No, I was wondering if you remembered the process. Like, how did you go through the selection process? Did you remember?
I remember exactly what I did.
Mm.
I was I still am a big Justice League fan. I mean, that's the one volume 1 that I'm trying to finish up because I had so many to begin with. Mm. I'm about 30 comics away from having I have the 3 annuals from volume 1, and there are 261 issues, and I have about 231 of them right now. But I would subscribe to them. They came in those folded mailers, you know, and I loved it when they had the joint or the crossover with the Justice Society of America, and that solidified it for me. I mean, so Nick, I loved comics that had multiple heroes. So although they weren't the only ones I saved, if there was anything where there were multiple heroes in it, that stayed with me. So for example, I have the marriage of Aquaman and Mera. Why? Because on the cover, there's like 20 heroes on it.
Right.
That's why I kept the comic, you know? And so I have a bunch of Flash comics that I saved because he was there with the Green Lantern, you know, because they joined together a bunch of times, you know? So, hey, Master Blaster. So, you know, to me, that was really the key, although it wasn't the only thing that I saved.
No, it's a pretty good thought process. I mean, you have different dynamics for each character, and it's always interesting. So,
Yeah, I mean, the other thing I did too is I had, although people consider me a big DC person, I did read a lot of Marvel. And so I did keep Avengers, I did keep X-Men, I did keep Fantastic Four, I did keep Spider-Man. So at the time, for example, with the Avengers and with the X-Men, I have like numbers 2 through like 38, 40, something like that I bought when I was a kid, you know? And so, and the funny thing about it, when you look, the Fantastic Four, the first one I have is number 3, right? I thought I had number 2, but I can't find it. So maybe I did have it, but it's not there. But the thing about it is, when I had these comics, Nick, you're talking about, did you think you're going to keep them in good shape? No. But ever since I got back into comics and started like watching people and seeing what's there, I said, gee, I got some pretty good comics there. So I looked at it, I said, oh, look, I got this.
Nice.
I got this.
Oofa.
And all heavy hitters.
I got this. And I got this.
Wow.
So now they were in a box for like, I don't know how many years. I just realized maybe 3 or 4 years ago, hey, these are pretty good comic books. You know?
Yeah, Joe, they're not that good. Just send them to me.
You want them?
Yeah, I'll read them. And I'll tell you what I think.
Give me 1 second, gentlemen, because the Don has arrived and we're going to bring him on.
Okay.
In true Lennon fashion, he made us wait for him, and all we can do is accept his presence back onto the show. Ladies and gentlemen, Jimmy the Don.
Hey, Jimmy.
Hello, my subjects. How are we this evening?
Doing good,
well.
sir. We were
Sitting
talking
here watching Joe bring out the bangers. Good Lord.
right? So, Joe, you said when you got back into comics, I mean, you've obviously been collecting since you were a kid. Have you been dropping in and out of it periodically, or were you just out for one period? Or
I was just out basically for one period. It was, I'd say probably, I'm an old guy, right? So I graduated from college in 1972. Got my master's in 1975. I was teaching school. Then I decided in a drunken stupor in the Playboy Club in Chicago to go to law school. And I did. And I graduated from law school in 1981. And so from that point on, from around 72, 73, my life kind of changed a little bit. And I stopped collecting, stopped reading. I kept the comics. But then something interesting happened. When the X-Men movies came out, and I did watch them, but I have a nephew who is, I think now he's something like 38, 39 years old. But when he was a kid, he came over, my sister's kid, and he was a big X-Men fan, right? And so he knew that I had X-Men, numbers 2 through whatever. So he asked me if he could see my X-Men comics. Now, you might cringe at this, right? So I take the X-Men comics out. And I took him out of the, plastic and all that. So I told him, I said, you can look through them. I said, but if you rip any of them, I said, I'm going to kill you. That's what I told him. So I actually let the kid look through them, and he loved it. He has a son now who's a big Thor fan. So I bought him a couple of Thor comic books. I've drawn Thor for him, and stuff like that. So when he started doing that, I just kind of started looking at my comics again. But then I was working in Manhattan, right, as a lawyer, and I had to go to a meeting, uptown. And then since I was involved with scouting, there was a big scout shop in the Empire State Building. So I went to buy something there. When I came out, there was a comic book shop across the street from the Empire State Building. I said, So I went in there. And I started looking at the comics and stuff like that. I'm not sure when that was, maybe 2005, 6, something like that. And I just caught the bug again, and just started buying some comics, looking at them again. And then when my office moved, I was like right between 2 Midtown Comics stores, the Grand Central store and the one on 40th Street, And so every lunchtime I was out there, and looking at the comics, buying some and that type of stuff. So that was kind of it. And so since that time, I've been involved, buying them. Buy every Spider-Man that comes out, although I haven't read them since number 55 because I don't like Nick Spencer's fun. And
Well,
Justice
he's
League of
done with
America I keep
75.
buying, even though Bendis, I bought them. Some of my friends saying you should read it because he's good, but I hated what he did with Superman. I stopped reading Superman when Bendis took over.
Nobody reads Superman anyway.
Hush your mouth, Nick's Kicks.
So to me, that was kind of the roadway, to comics. And so since that time, I have been involved buying and so forth. Most of the time without a real plan. I think I have more of a plan now, but in the beginning I was just like Jimmy Dunn. I've heard you say you bought everything. I did the same. I did the same thing. So remember Project Superpowers when that came out? I bought every single one, even the comic that was like they had one they were selling for $250 or something. I bought that one too. So I have every single one of those. I don't know what they're worth. I don't think they're worth what I paid for them, but I stopped doing that a while back.
You got your buddy picking on you here, Joe.
He loves that. He's when Master Blaster saw that first one, he went bananas. He offered to buy one off of me. So I sent him one.
Nice. You show some cool stuff, some things that, that's the hardest thing, generation to generation is showing the generation that's after you what came before and how it was different. Like with our kids today who, cable television isn't really a thing for them. It's Netflix, right. It's streaming packages, it's stuff like that. And everything's digital. And then at our age, everything was, I don't know if you remember, but when you're a kid and you got mail, it was exciting because it was usually something fun. It was a book or it was something. And but now they get everything digital and there's no that rush to the mailbox or the rush to get something physical. Luckily I got a retro kid, so he loves all that sort of physical media and he likes the way he's totally retro all the way. And I can't tell you the amount of old game systems we bought for him that are in the house now. But his favorite comics are 80s Transformers comics. He loves them.
I don't know if you can call Joe retro though, because his thumbnail game is far and beyond what I could ever do.
I know Joe's the man. I mean, he really is. Yeah, I said
he's got good editing, Joe.
Yeah.
Well, the thing was, when I and some I think Master Blaster was one of them. There's a few people that go way back with me. I was in Cape Cod, and I had bought a lot of comics. I had a lot of mail that came in, but I didn't open any of it. And so I was talking, I guess, on Instagram or something with some of them. We're all part of kind of with the, this is, Reggie Collects. That's what kind of got me started with YouTube stuff. I was looking for somebody to show me how to clean comics and press them. Came across him, and I just got involved with the people there, and they're a great bunch of people. So what happened was I'm sitting down there, and I'm talking to them, and I said, I have all these, envelopes here and stuff like that I haven't opened because I was just going to bring them back to New York from the Cape. I said, and I joking around said, I should probably just start a YouTube channel, so I could open them, have unboxings, opening them up. And they kept saying, yeah, do it. And so I did. That was the way it started out. I tried a few different things. I tried to learn, what's a thumbnail? How does that work? I tried doing a couple of different type of videos to see what they look like. And I have some that I did way back when that I never published, and I looked at them and I said, boy, these are terrible. These are just terrible.
Well, I think we all have those.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. Hey, have we asked Joe about his love of covers yet?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Well, I'm going to right now. So, Joe, I mean, one of my favorite things about Joe's channel is he's always got the most wicked covers. Like, he's showing some really, really good covers. Like, what is it about the covers, Joe, that you really love, or what draws your attention to that?
Well, and I had to, and Jimmy Dunn, I had to stop buying a lot of them because I was making myself very poor just buying these covers that I like, So I've been focusing in a little bit more and saying I'll buy one or two or whatever else. But anyway, what I looked at was I really just noticed that there were a lot of people that bought, did cover plays, just bought for covers, and And a lot of times when you watch people on, on the YouTube videos, they said very little about the stories. They may talk, oh, it's a great book, whatever else, but that cover is so great, So I said to myself, I'm probably missing out a little bit. So what I did is I started just researching, being a lawyer, research is kind of my thing. And so I just started researching, trying to find, how can I find out how many covers are there? And when I realized that for most months, there's like 200 or more books to go out, I really look at each one of those. I go through each one of those things, convert them into little videos so I could put the bigger video together. But what I found is I learned more about comics. I learned about companies I didn't know about. I learned about series that I didn't know about just by looking for the covers. And some of these covers by some of these artists, like, I'm kind of more in tune with some of the, the Italians like Federici and Perillo and some of those, but Tyler Kirkham and a bunch of these others. Some of these people they're real artists. It's not like in the old days, like a Carmen Infantino was really good, right? And Neil Adams is really good. But some of these people, I mean, if they were in the, if they were back in the Renaissance time, they would be making portraits of the kings and the queens. That's my view.
They're full-on paintings. They're gorgeous.
Beautiful.
You ever look behind the scenes at Perillo, and he has plenty of pictures online of him painting his covers. They're amazing.
And the other thing I like about the Italians is I like to pronounce their names in Italian. Perillo.
Yeah. Oh, it's awesome.
That way. So I usually just say their names that way because it's just a lot of fun to do it. Like,
you ever heard me try to say these names? It's ridiculous.
I'm sorry. Well, how's that go, Jimmy?
No, I said, have you ever heard me try to say these people's names? I said it is a sport to me. It's become a sport for me to try to say these names because my hillbilly just does not go well with Perillo. See, I can't do that. I can't. Joe sounded cool.
Picking a cow.
But see, Italian, Jimmy, Italian is the type of language where you could be cursing someone out and they'll think that you're making love to them. That's the beauty. Right. That's the beauty of the language.
It's awesome.
No,
Jimmy language is the type that gives you the cold shoulder.
No, like it really is. It's kind of fun. Like sometimes I'll be recording these videos and these names come up and like the first time I say it, I'm like, what did I just say? Like, that's not even close. It just, for whatever reason, just does not translate.
Yeah. This one Brock said's hilarious. Like Bill Sienkiewicz, everyone says his name wrong.
I don't know how to say his name because it's not Italian. So it's hard for me to say.
I like some of the French names, too. Those are fun.
Yeah, those are good. Well, I studied languages at first before I went to law school. So I was a language teacher. I taught Italian and Spanish, and I studied the history of the English language. I used to be able to read Old English and do all the rest of that type of stuff. The etymology of the words was something that I really loved. I was like a wacko, but for that reason, nobody liked that except for me, And so for me, it was a learning experience, and part of it had to do with the fact that I grew up in Manhattan, and growing up in Manhattan, a lot of people like the Bruno character that I have. And it's really kind of an overstatement of how I actually did speak when I was younger. I mean, I don't talk like that now and stuff like that. It's something that people hear, but that's not what I'm really saying. But when I was younger, I said a lot of different things that you might have heard on the Bowery Boys. Matter of fact, I went to Mexico to study Spanish for a summertime. I went with a pal of mine from college. And then I lived in a kind of a dorm with 4 Mexican kids, a kid from Minneapolis and a kid from San Diego. And so, we played jokes on each other and stuff like that. So one time these guys did something and I looked at them and said, would you guys stop it? Well, the kid from Minneapolis, I thought he was going to bust a gut. He was laughing. He couldn't stop laughing. I said, what are you laughing at? He says, I never heard that except on TV on the Bowery Boys. Well, right then and there, I decided I was going to change the way I spoke, and that's why I studied language and linguistics. And I tried to make sure I would listen to the news people and how they spoke. And I would try to speak that well. And I was not a good public speaker either. Until now, you can't shut me up. But when I went to college and I wanted to be a teacher, I had to take a speech course. And the first thing you had to do was to get up and say something. So I got up and I decided I was going to recite this poem, The Man with the Hoe, which was 6 stanzas. By the 4th stanza, I was in such a sweat, and I was like, I was choking. I sat down. So the teacher says, wasn't that poem a little longer? I said, yes. But by the end of it, I think for my final, I read the portion of Catcher in the Rye. John Lennon had just come out with his first solo album. There was that one song called Mother, which was kind of a sad song in some ways. I read that. The teacher kept saying, you could sit down now. Now what's going on? He couldn't get me to sit down, And that's right then and there. Everybody said you should be a lawyer because you never stopped talking.
What kind of law did you practice, Joe?
Well, I did different things. I started off being a law secretary for a trial judge. Then I was a trial lawyer, mostly defense work for corporations for about 13, 14 years. And then I got into regulatory work, where again, it was insurance regulation. So I dealt with a lot of, people in different states and all that. And at the end of my career, I was the chief privacy officer for a Fortune 50 company. We had offices in 46 countries. I got to go to Hong Kong and a few other places. That was kind of cool. Nice. And then I retired.
Good deal.
Now, in every one of those countries you've traveled to, did you search out comic stores? Was that
No. That wasn't something that was even on my radar when I went to these places. It was, there was a lot of work to be done and stuff like that. I did drink though when I went to those countries. If that's of some value to you, Nick.
I love it. No, that was actually going to be my follow-up, was that if you were collecting during that time. I know I missed the first part, and I'm sorry. So, but yeah, no, it interests me, like when you were I guess so you're saying you didn't really read comics when you were practicing. I was just wondering if anybody else in your firm or anybody else you worked with, like in the law field, was collecting.
Well, actually, I did do that. You missed in the beginning. I think my offices were like so close to these comic book stores, and I just started, probably it was about 2007, 2008, when I started collecting again and reading some. But what I'm saying is when I went to Argentina or something like that, the type of work that we were doing, there's just so much work to be done in a short period of time. Other than going out to drink, which everybody was willing to do, I couldn't say, Joe, is there a comic book store somewhere here so I can, try to get there? It was just not something that popped into my mind.
Now, with your YouTube channel, and I've found this is different with a lot of people. Some people don't tell everyone in their life they have a YouTube channel. Some people have it fully out in the open, and everyone in their sisters, brothers, cousins know. Me, my wife and kid, they're in the next room. They know what I do. They know I don't shut up. They know I'm in here on YouTube all the time. How is it for you? You said you one person said it, and you decided to try it out. But was it something you openly shared, or something you had to get comfortable with?
Everybody knows. Everybody knows. My relatives know. Matter of fact, this woman that I grew up with, one good thing about Facebook is that I've been able to make kind of contacts with people that I grew up with, and even some of my relatives, like in Italy and so forth. And that's a fun thing. So just recently, as an example, because when I post a new video, I'll post on my Anachronic Comics Instagram page usually, but I also do it on my Joe Trovato Instagram page, and I also sometimes put it on my Joe Trovato Facebook page. And so this woman writes to me and she says, my son is into comics and he wants to know if he can talk to you and whatever, and that, and be, friends with you on Facebook. I said, yeah, so, to me, that's kind of my new career in some ways. So I have no qualms about it. And people actually are amazed when they find out about it. Another woman that I know through Scouts wrote to me and said that her son, I think not her son, I think it was her nephew, but a relative anyway, had found some comics that belonged to the person's father who had passed away, and wanted to know something about the comics. Do you think that they're valuable? What have you? So I'm going to make an appointment with them, go over there, take a look at them, see if I can help out. I didn't want to sell them or anything. I said, do you want to sell them? I said, maybe I'll buy them. They said, no, he doesn't want to sell them, just wants to kind of know. So, I mean, if I didn't publish it outside of like just the comic book community, I wouldn't have these other type of contacts or these other things going on.
So leading to that, you published recently on your Instagram page a lot of singing. I want to know what's the impetus behind that. Have you always done that, or was that tied into the drinking a little bit too?
Nick, and it's always tied to drinking, you know that. But I have to tell you, from when I was a kid, I think I was in the wrong career because I should have been a singer. I should have been on Broadway and maybe the movies because I just love getting up in front of people and doing things. As a matter of fact, one of the reasons, I mean, I did a pretty good job arguing cases in front of like the appellate courts and things like that, because it's all acting. It's all acting, and you get up there. You may think you have the most terrible case in front of you, right? But you have to go up there and make believe like it's the best case, and you're going to win this case, and you have to try to convince these people to do it. So what am I doing? I'm acting. You know. Matter of fact, I had a guy that I worked with that I had used to do some trials with him, and we had an appeal, and it was near his where he lived. So he said, Joe, do you mind if I come and watch you argue the appeal? I said, no. So I get up there and I just start going at it, you know, with the three judges that are up there, and I'm going through this whole thing and all that. And so when I finish, I come out there and say, hey, you want to go have lunch? He's looking there, his jaw has dropped. I go, and I've known this guy for like 10 years, but he never saw me do that. And he said to me, I never saw you like that before. I go, like what? He says, the way you were arguing. I said, that's my job. I said, that was, you know, the case sucked, but I just wanted everybody, the judges, to think that they should root for us, right? That's what I'm there, you know, to do. So, you know, in some respects, that's acting. And singing has always been something that I love to do. I actually, with some kids, I cut a record when I was in 8th grade. I was on a kind of a small Broadway show for a while, like, you know, just like a one night type of review type of stuff. So that's something that I always loved doing. And I, you know, sing mostly in the shower now, but still love doing it. You know?
Well, you did a pretty good job. And like I said,
yeah, I did.
Yeah, I couldn't tell who was the lead singer of the band, if it was him or you. Did a pretty good job.
Hey,
Yeah,
Joe,
thanks.
there's a good question over here.
Yeah.
Master Blaster asked, it says, Joe mentioned other collectibles in a recent video, small Marilyn Monroe collection.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear about that, and what else do you collect?
The Marilyn Monroe collection is kind of interesting. How can I put this now? Okay, well, my secretary that I had told her at one time that when I was a kid, I was a big Marilyn Monroe fan. I mean, I was in love with Marilyn Monroe. All kids in the 60s were in love with Marilyn Monroe. You have 50s and 60s, right? So she bought me a Hallmark Marilyn Monroe Christmas ornament. So I said, oh, wow. I said, oh, this is the third of a series. Too bad I can't get the other two. And then this other guy says, well, there's something called eBay. I said, what's eBay? In fact, I know what eBay was. So I got the other two. And then what I did is one of the bookcases in my office, I cleared it all out and I just put the 3 figurines up there. Well, as people came into the office and they saw that, we engaged in conversation about Marilyn Monroe, right? And then people just started bringing me things. So I have a glass with Marilyn Monroe on it. I have a little lunch case with Marilyn Monroe on it. You know, I have coins with Marilyn Monroe on it. Then people started ripping out pictures of Marilyn Monroe from magazines and giving them to me. So this whole place. So it was kind of a little. I don't know what you would call it, like a little monument or something to Marilyn Monroe was in my office. So that was basically my Marilyn Monroe collection, was through people giving me that type of stuff. You know, other than that, I mean, I did have a ton of baseball cards when I was a kid. When my son was born, I bought him like sets of them. So I still have those here, but they're his. But I do have some. I'm a big Yankees fan. And so I have some Yankees stuff. I was trying to get the signatures of all the Yankees from the turn of this, from like the late '90s to the 2000 when they won those set of series. So I got a baseball with everyone on it except for, I think, Bernie Williams and who else? I'm missing one other person on that. So I don't know if I'm ever going to get them now. But it's funny because I got a lot of them at a Yankee luncheon in Tampa, Florida, that a business friend of mine got me a ticket to. And A-Rod was there at the time, too. It was after they won their last World Series. What was it, 2009, I think?
Yep.
Anyway, so I had this baseball, so I was trying to finish up getting some signatures on it, right? And so I get to A-Rod. I wanted A-Rod's signature, but I didn't want him to pollute the ball. So I got like the program and had him sign the program instead of the ball. So I had the ball in my hand and I give the program to him. And he's looking at me with the ball and I'm giving him the program and he signs the program. I take the program back and say, thanks, And so that's another thing that I have. I have some figurines too, some DC figurines downstairs. The one other thing, do I have it here? Or maybe I don't have it here anymore. Oh yeah, one thing I did want to show you that's pretty cool. I'm going to make a video on this, but this is something that some people might still have. So I don't know if you could see that.
Nice.
Oh, the Mary Marvel Marching Society. Nice.
That's right. There's the pledge.
Look who it's signed by.
Yeah.
And the man. Oh, no.
Ben Grimm.
Ben Grimm, yeah.
Here's the original.
Grimm.
Here's the original stickers that came with it that are in here. Never took them out of the plastic here. I got, this is just so cool, having this stuff. Signed by the Bullpen Gang. A letter welcoming me there. This is super cool. It's a record.
Oh, wow.
It's one of those kind of like, floppy records that are there. And let's see, what else do I have here? They sent me something else. And this just to show you how I was a big fan. I used to try to draw things. So that's something was in there. I just found it in there.
That's awesome.
So there's so many different things. So I got this. I got some Batman cards from the 60s, I think it is. So there's different things like that I have like that, and but the thing I have the most of is comics. Yeah.
So there was another question too, right after his. It was from Jason on Never Could Figure It Out, and he wants to hear the story of how you came up with Anachronic Comics.
Yeah, is another thing. T-shirts with that. How did I come up with Anachronic Comics? Well, when I decided I was going to have I decided I was going to have a channel. I was trying to think of what the name would be. And so I came up with these different names, and then I would search for them. And when I searched for them, people had them already. And I was trying to get something that had some alliteration to it, right? So you have comics, that's going to be at the end of it. So I sit down, and I try to come up with stuff. I go on Google, I'm looking at words, what could come up there. Have my daughter and my son will happen to be here that weekend. So I'm throwing names off of them. And then I come across anachronisms. I go, And I look at that and I say, so it says something like, something that's out of its normal space and time. I go, that sounds kind of comic-y, And so I saw that there was the adjective was anachronic. And so I had another name, which I can't remember now. And so I sit down there, I said, well, Anachronic Comics. To get the seeds, And so Anachronic Comics. So my kids all thought that was pretty good, And so then I came up with that drawing that I did, where I just said, well, what would be the best thing, someone out of space and time? Well, suppose you have like a cave woman that's in a kind of a Jetsons type of bubble car, So I came up with that. The only thing I didn't know is that once I got on different shows, people couldn't say anachronic. They didn't know they didn't know how to say it. People have learned how to say it because now I have the channel, and I always say Hi, I'm Joe, and welcome to Anachronic Comics. And the reason I did that is so people would know how to say anachronic. You know, I mean, the first time Reggie tried to say anachronic, he couldn't say it. So then what I started to do is put at the end of it, you know, say Anachronic Comics, and I put at the end, just call me Joe. And so every time I posted a comment, it would say Anachronic Comics, just call me Joe. And so now everybody just calls me Joe.
Now, who does the whisper? Anachronic.
That's my daughter. Now that's another story. I thought to myself, what am I going to do? I said, I don't want to have a big long like music thing or something like that, because I had something I'd put together on my very first video that, you know, was a long thing and so forth. It was pretty cool, but I thought it was too long. So I said, I just want something really quick. And so I had this thing, you know, that drawing that I made. And so I go to my wife, I say, could you just whisper anachronic? Because I had this other noise at the end, and I was visualizing this thing in my head. So my wife couldn't do it. So my daughter is going to medical school. She's up in Albany, New York. She's in medical school there. So I write to her, I said, and I say, could you just say anachronic, you know, in your iPhone and just send it to me? I said, but say it kind of like in a, you know, low tone. So she does it. I say, just whisper it, you know? She goes, but that's not going to sound good. I said, just whisper it. So she whispers it. I said, okay, I'm going to put it in it. She says, that's not going to work, right? So I put it together. I sent it to her. I go, here it is. She goes, oh, that works pretty good. So,
yeah, you remember it. Like I associate that whisper with your channel. Like when your video starts, it's a signifier.
That's right. That's right. And that's her. So I told her, I said, you're on every one of my videos now.
Nice.
Well, and I am going to tell you, Joe, that, you know, off camera, Gary B and I were talking about the name, and he read way too much into the chronic part of it.
I did. Jimmy's been waiting to get a slam on me all night.
All night. I've been waiting all night. No, but you're right about the whisper, though. Like, I recognize it in Joe's. Like, it's one of those things that sticks in my head. And, like, DJ's channel and DJ Links, you know how that happens?
Right.
It's a really cool hook for whatever reason, and I remember it every single time.
Well, the funny thing about it is, too, that when I first put together that cave woman, on the side of the car, it said Anachronic, right? So it's A-N-A and then a capital C, because I just thought it was kind of like cute, you know, like Anna. Her name is Anachronic, right? And so the first time that Reggie Collects saw me put the note there, he was calling me Anna. That's why I started putting that, just call me Joe. You know, I said, wait a minute, that's not good.
Well, I can tell you there may have been some people who knew how to say it, but I can guarantee you every single person had to look up the meaning of it.
That's right. That's right. Well, it's in the description below. I put the description and then I put down what it means in the description because I figured people might want to do that. But so the funny thing is that I'm going to post this probably in a couple of weeks, but I sent my guy Freaky, Louie, you know, he has all those, he has his live from Newport on Saturday night. So I did send him a little video, which I won't get into now, but I think he showed it once on his channel, but I'm going to post it on my channel. I think he's okay with that, probably maybe in a week or two. But the star of that is Anachronic, but not the cave woman. I think you'll find it. If you didn't see it on his channel, you'll be surprising on it. My kids were aghast when they saw it. They said, "You're not going to show that, are you?" I said, "Oh yeah, we're showing that."
So leading to the definition of that, being displaced in time, we'll talk about Loki. Do you watch any of the shows or any of the
all of them?
All of them?
Yeah.
You enjoy them?
Yeah, I do. I do enjoy them. I'm not so critical of a lot of them. I mean, I know what I like and what I don't like. But to me, I mean, sometimes I read some of the critiques that people have. I just enjoy. I mean, you have to remember growing up, I was looking at the Superman TV show, and the big thing with the Superman, you know, George Reeves, and the big thing with the Superman TV show was when it went from black and white to color. I mean, that was like a big deal. So with all the stuff that people have now going through, like the Superman and Lois show, I think is just terrific. I mean, one of the best shows I think on TV. You know, and the Loki thing was very good. You know, you know, all of them are really good. So I don't complain about them. I love watching them. You know, And to me, I wish they had them 20 years ago. I mean, because to me, they're just bringing everything to life.
Exactly.
And
I'm aghast that we have them, because when I see everyone complaining, it's like, you guys don't understand the time of riches you live in. When we were kids, man, I would die for a superhero movie of the quality that we have today.
Absolutely.
You didn't get it. And if you did get a movie, you got the one rare one every like 20 years, like a Superman with Christopher Reeves. All the other ones, no one took the material seriously. They treated all like camp and fodder. They didn't even make good camp. They made bad campy movies with barely any budgets, just to hold the rights to the characters, and it was just horrible.
Well, and I even watched the Batman 66 every Monday and Wednesday. I mean, I'd watch it even though it wasn't a real Batman in my view, but it was still fun to watch because it was Batman was there and his rogues were there, and to me they were alive. They were there, and it just reminded me now the George Reeves Superman. If you ever watch any of them, you'll see that the background music that they played was the same background music consistently, just on a loop throughout, And when they did that, the first time I noticed that, and I wasn't young when I noticed it, it was like older, watching like some of it on TV. I said, oh my God, they have the same loop song throughout almost, the entire episode. It's, and so when you look at now Loki or any of the other shows that are on there, and you see what they've got now, you say to yourself, my God, these are just terrific shows. There's nothing not to like. What's that?
So you got symphonies, whole orchestras. You got people that just have the whole digital thing down, and they're concocting this incredible score just at their computers. It's amazing.
Right.
And I grew up watching that Superman with George Reeves too. That was one of my childhood watches. You watch it in the reruns all the time.
That's right.
And then you got even some of those old Batman ones with the really pointy ears, and
he
had a gun.
My best friend John and I would I was with him and his son like maybe a couple of years ago. We were talking about some of these, and so we would explain to people how we spent 15 weeks, in a movie theater, because we went to a movie theater in the village to watch one of the serials that they had, a Batman serials. Like, so they have one every week, right? But they had them like one right after the other. So we spent like how many hours in there just watching the whole serial from the beginning to the end. And that was fun. That was great. Even though it's like even worse quality than, the TV shows that they had back then, but it was still, they're there, they're alive. And for us, it was just a terrific thing to see, and we'd seek them out. When we went to see Batman 89, it was my wife and my friend John and his wife, we were just like, we came out of that, we were like, my God, we're in heaven. We're in heaven,
Now, does your wife collect too?
No. She does nothing like this.
How does she feel? How does she feel about your collecting?
She wants me to sell it and make money. No, she supports me doing it. She's very good, because I told her, I said, look, I need a space where when you walk in, you're not going to say, this place needs to be cleaned up. I said, I'm do the best I can. I go through stuff like that. And so she supports me in doing, what I do. And that's a good thing, but she's not into it at all. Matter of fact, I wanted to have her, I said, why don't you go on my channel? I'll ask you some questions. You give me the answers. It'll be kind of fun to see what you don't know. And she said, I'm never doing that. Never doing
it. So she knows what she doesn't want to do, right?
Yeah.
Now, is she watching you tonight, though? Does she watch your stuff?
She's watched now and then. I don't think she's watching me tonight, but she watches now and then. And my kids will watch now. My daughter, not so much, because being in medical school, she's always got a bunch of things to do. But they'll watch now and then as well. But I have some of my cousins will watch me. Some other people. It's kind of funny. I was at a scout meeting, and I walked into the committee meeting for the troop, and someone says, "Oh, here comes Anachronic Comics." I said, "Whoa!" I didn't realize that they were watching it, because my son watches it all the time, and stuff like that. So, so you become kind of a minor celebrity sometimes with some of the stuff that goes on with that, So.
What are you reading right now, Joe? Like, what do you like to read?
Well, right now, what I'm starting to do is collect. I'm collecting more than reading because I do want to read them as some of the indies, So I was just saying in the beginning, like something like like ENIAC and Nuclear Family, because that kind of is something that I can relate to. Nice House on the Lake and a bunch of the others. I have them, but I don't read them right away. I like to collect 3 or 4 of them, or 5 of them, and then sit down and read them. And so I have them like in different piles. And when I get to like 5 or something like that, or if it's going to be a 6-issue series, I'll wait for the 6th. I'll sit down and I'll read through the whole thing. I just do it that way. So sometimes I feel like I'm, missing out because people say, this is so great. I can't wait for number 2 to come out. And I'm saying, oh, okay.
I do the same thing. I like to sit down and read the complete story.
I do that too.
Series, I get them all first and then I read them.
Yeah,
I have certain books that I read every week, when they come out that I follow. And then I have books that I just collect the series and then read them all at one time.
Yeah, I was doing that mostly with the ASM, with Amazing Spider-Man, and with Justice League. And I just got to pick up on them again, especially with the Brian Michael Bendis, because I actually did a video when it was announced he was going to take over the Justice League, and the Nick, you're saying about the thumbnails. I mean, my thumbnail was like this, one of these, like, but I tried to be fair. I said, I know he did a great job, with the X-Men and this type of stuff, but to me, after what he did with Superman, I was like, I don't know. So I have them all here. They're right there, from number, was it 59 or whatever when he took over, and I will read them. And some of my friends are telling me they're good, but time will tell. Maybe I'll do another video at the end saying, okay, I did a good job, hopefully. With that.
With a different face, maybe.
Yeah, maybe with a different face. That's true.
So with all the writers that are out there today, is there one writer that you really like right now that really hits it out of the park for you every time you read them?
No, I have a very varied kind of like approach to things, it's more, I don't really look at the writers so much, to be honest with you. I mean, I see who's writing them, and sometimes it makes a difference to me, but that's not important. I'm more into like the character and the storylines that's there. Like Tynan on Batman, when the whole wedding thing came up there, I was collecting Batman, I was reading Batman, but that whole wedding thing kind of turned me off, And the reason it turned me off is they didn't get married. Because here I'm thinking this is going to be a whole new like line for Batman to go down, as a married guy, like Superman marrying Lois, and a whole new bunch of stories come out, right? And then he didn't do it. I'm saying, why this tease for like, 10, 15 issues like that?
Right.
So I stopped buying it. Just said, that's it, So, pretty much I just look at the storylines, some of the things that I like, and pick up different ones if they look like they're good, or if somebody recommends it to me, that type of stuff.
Hey, so with such an extensive collection, what is Joe after nowadays? Like, what's on your Grail list?
There's only one on my Grail list, and I'm not sure really whether I'll be able to get it or not. Because I'll tell you, Nick, what I'm doing now is, and it was something that I put in a video, there are all these comics that people want that are now especially, really expensive. And to me, it'd be great to have, some of these comics that are out there. But the one that I really want is Brave and the Bold 28. I have Brave and the Bold 29 and 30. I had Justice League #1. Brave and the Bold 28 is the first appearance of the Justice League, right? So I have Justice League #1. It was without a cover, but I got one with a cover finally. So that was one kind of a Grail type of thing that I wanted to get. But that's one now, But it's really, really expensive. So to me, I'm sitting down and I'm trying to figure out how to do a plan for this. I got a lot of comics. I've started to put comics aside that I'm going to sell. And my whole idea behind that is just to complete that volume 1 of Justice League of America, including the 3 Brave and the Bold appearances. So to me, that's really the only one that, not that if something else comes my way, I wouldn't consider getting it, but I think if I really want to get that comic, I'm going to have to kind of stop and focus in on that. And that's really the one that I want to get.
Now, something we haven't touched on, but you've mentioned it a few times, like Anachronic and stuff, is you're a bit of an artist, right? So how often do you draw?
Well, being that I'm retired, I really don't have a lot of time. So what I did was there were a couple of things. It's really funny because when you practice law, it doesn't leave you a lot of time for doing things. But like I said, you have to be creative. You're basically doing a lot of research. You're writing. When you're arguing cases or even speaking to a client, there are different things, skills that you get. But growing up, I did draw and I sang, and those were two things that I thought I did fairly well. And so when I retired, I did two things immediately. I took some singing lessons, and I took an art lesson. And I took a lesson with a local artist that was here, some lessons with the person. And I was seeing things in a way I never saw them before.
Huh.
It was just an amazing experience. I love it. I'd like to continue, but the whole COVID thing kind of threw it all off. I couldn't continue, with the lessons and doing the type of stuff. And it was just basically just mostly like pencil drawing. But she really showed me how to look at things. I mean, I would look at things, and I still could look at things now in a different way that I did before. As a matter of fact, I started drawing some people at times too, which I never really tried to do before. And it was just amazing how you're able to do that, and it's just, so to me, it's something that I really, really like. I'm not as good as I would like to be, but I think it's something that I'd like to continue doing, maybe taking some lessons again, and seeing how far I can make it go. And it's something like just drawing a boot, she'd put like a boot there, or like crumple up a blanket and put like some, a glass and a vase on it. And you look at it and you're saying, what you find out is people draw what they think it should look like, instead of drawing what it actually looks like. And that was the biggest lesson that came out of that.
That's cool, though. Different people can open your mind to such perspective, and you never know what you're going to discover.
It's just amazing. It's just amazing. So, I won't be a Neil Adams, but I think I can do certain things with that are kind of fun to do.
Well, I didn't know that you drew the logo for your channels. I think that's really impressive.
Yeah, not the nice one. I got an artist to do the nice one, but the one that I show in the beginning is still the one that I drew. But
we all had to pay people.
Excuse me? What's that?
I said we all had to pay people to draw ours.
Probably just the same guy too.
Well, I paid for the nice one, but the one that I have on the sticker and the one that I show in the beginning, and I'm going to keep on showing the one in the beginning, is the one that I drew. And that's the one I'm going to keep showing. But on the other stuff, I've got the nicer one there.
I think Jimmy feels that it's really nice to have another artist on the show for once.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Well, Jimmy, I started this one back in like 1969, I think. So maybe I'll finish it now.
Right, the Joe and Jimmy collaboration cover coming soon.
Right.
That's right. Everybody does these shows where they get together and draw. That's what Joe and I'll do. We'll get together and draw. We need to get Joe on Lame Reframe. We need to reach out to Rod Dorican and get him on Lame Reframe and get over there and do his thing.
Yeah. So, now, but anyway, some of the other comics that I have here is like I have, Spider-Man here.
Look at the bangers.
That's a cool one. Avengers is number 2.
Wow.
This is a big one now, right? Whoop, where is it? There we go.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that is the big one.
That's the big one now. Spidey, and the Spidey's kind of funny because I didn't know about Spider-Man when I started buying like Fantastic Four, Avengers, and X-Men. And then I saw this Spider-Man thing, and so I got Spider-Man number 9 was the first one that I bought.
Another big one there.
And so I have 9, 10, all the way up there. But the funny thing about it was I started looking for, like in some of the stores, to say, can I find some of the earlier ones? And the only one I could find was 5. So those are the only ones that I got there. But for the DC guys, some of the stuff I have, like have a ton of these, like Batman and Superman annuals, the 25
I always
cents.
love those covers on those too. I don't know what it is.
I have a ton of them. This was a pretty good one I didn't know I had.
Ooh, nice.
X-Men starts with number 2. These are just the first 3. This is number 3. Right. And number 4 is a big one.
Oh yeah, Vision and Wanda.
But the other thing that I have some of is I'm a big fan of Booster Gold and Blue Beetle, but I do have some of the old Charlton, Blue Beetle ones that I bought.
That was my favorite Blue Beetle.
Yeah,
Charlton.
I have about 5 of these, that made it from Manhattan to Staten Island.
I wish I could go look through a short box and find those books.
Well, the nice thing about it is that these are books. I mean, one of the things that when I came back into comics, I didn't mention this to you guys, but when I came back into comics, I really thought, hey, I'm going to take Avengers, X-Men, Fantastic Four and that type of stuff. I picked up an Avengers thing. I didn't know what the hell was going on. I didn't understand it. The X-Men was like this of X, this of Bob. And I said, what the heck is going on here? And so I never read them because it was just too confusing to me. Spider-Man was not. Spider-Man was good. So I picked up Spider-Man again. Fantastic Four, I had some false starts. I tried, they were just not very good stories. So I have a bunch of them here, but they're not very good. And so I never could really pick up on them. So I finally just gave up on them there. But I felt sad about that because I was a big Avengers, X-Men fan. And I just couldn't do it.
Yeah, I think around the time that you got back into it, Hickman was writing a lot of those things. And Hickman is very scientific and very tough for me to read. Because I was a big X-Men guy too, but it was just too scientific for me, and I didn't enjoy it at all. So
yeah, it's just confusing.
So we had a good question on here from Never Could Figure It Out, Joe. He wants to know what YouTube content you watch that's not comic related, if any.
Okay. Yeah, I watch a couple of. I watch Emergency Awesome because he talks about a lot of the Marvel TV shows, movies, along with some others. Rick and Morty, you were talking about them. And I watched this guy called Pagey because he goes over he's a big Flash fan. So he goes over all the Flash TV shows. He also does Superman and Lois. He does some others that are there. So he's more on the DC side. Other than that, my wife has been wanting me to take up golf. So I'm pretty bad at it. But so I watch some golf channels, with respect to that. I do watch some music channels as well. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I watch their channel. I like that stuff. What else do I have on my list there?
Do you find that you're watching more YouTube than regular TV?
It's part of my watching thing. I mean, when I finish dinner, my wife and I usually watch something together, and then I just go upstairs. And the first thing I turn on is YouTube. And then I generally will watch something else. And, because you have your phone on you, a lot of times with the phone, I'm just watching YouTube. So I'd say, Nick, probably it's at least 50-50, I'd say.
So we are hitting the hour and 10-minute mark, Joe. We're going to go through some final questions here.
Okay.
And then we'll do our wrap up, and then, like we like to do on this show, we let the guests have the final goodbye and sign off. But Nick, you got a final question?
Yeah, what I want to know, since Joe has this extensive collection for a long time, if you had the chance to be drawn into one panel of any comic book, what would that be?
Any current book?
Any book that ever existed.
Great question.
Well, I'll go back. There's so many of them, but I think I'll go back to what I said earlier, Nick. You know, the one thing that really, what I remember from the Justice League was that first JSA, JLA crossover. And so you had the Justice League holding hands, you know, and the JSA is like in a cloud, kind of, I guess, coming over from Earth 2 in some respects. I mean, it was representative. And so to me, being there, and I could be holding hands, you know, with Wonder Woman, hopefully, but you know, you know, and some of the other guys there in the JLA, or I wouldn't mind being next to, you know, Black Canary or somebody else in that cloud, you know, being from the JSA, but being in one of those things, I think would be, I mean, it would be just heaven. It would be glorious.
See, and Jimmy always wanted to hold hands with Guy Gardner and Lobo.
You're not supposed to tell these things while we're on live.
I thought that was common knowledge. Hey, one last thing, Joe. This will be a lot easier question. What New York game did you play that nobody knows about, except if you lived in New York?
Oh my God, I played all those games, Nick. You know, that nobody knows about.
Did you play Skelly?
Yeah, we played Scully in the middle of the street. Had to run when the cars came by. We played Scully, stoop ball, punch ball, stick ball, dodgeball, Chinese handball, American handball. Probably something I can't remember now. We had a gang of guys. We had 12 guys in our gang.
Wow.
You know, from Perry Street, Fort Street, and every winter we'd have snowball fights with the kids from Charles Street. You know, so that was growing up.
Nice. Well, you itch my homesick question, so I appreciate that, Joe. Thank you.
All right, my final question for you, Joe, and it's kind of along the same lines as Nick, but if you could pull a Stan Lee cameo in any modern picture that's being made, or one that has yet to be made, what film would you like to have a Stan Lee cameo in?
My life story. You know what? Stanley, I think you could fit him in probably any movie. You know, I'll tell you something. That guy, as he got older, he became a better and better actor. I mean, look at all the different parts he played in those movies, right? You know, from a mailman to a playboy. I mean, come on, the guy was terrific. You know, he's just terrific guy all around. I mean, I just loved reading his stuff, his soapbox. I mean, I take out some of these old comics sometimes when I just take a look at them, and I like to read the Stan soapbox. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yep, they're nice.
They're terrific. You know, and the other thing too is, and I haven't been able to find it yet, so it's probably in a comic I don't have. But for a while, every time that you joined the Merry Marvel Marching Society, they put your name at the bottom. There's lists on them. I don't know if you've seen them. So I've looked through a lot of my comics that I have that have those lists at the bottom, but I haven't seen my name yet. So, so I think that's something that if anybody sees it, let me know.
When I read the old comics too, I don't know if you're the same. I like to read the old letters. I like to read the letters pages too.
Letter pages are great, and that goes back to even like one of the things that really got me involved with comics when I was a kid was like Roy Thomas, Bill Joe White, and those people there, because they had these fanzines. I had some of the original Alter Ego fanzines that they worked on. Matter of fact, I won. This is one of the saddest things in my life, guys. And then I know we're over time, so I'll stop. But
you're good.
I won. Bill Joe White was a guy who wrote Batmania. It was a Batman fanzine, and I would write to him. He would write to me. He was older than me, obviously, at the time. And he had a contest. They had Alter Ego. They decided to make a comic character. Alter and his young sidekick was Ego. And so it appeared in Alter Ego comics. But in Batmania, Bill Joe White had a contest where he drew it. he drew what the guy was going to look like, and he wanted you to fill in the colors as to what his uniform, it would look like. So, being somewhat of an artist, I did it, right? And actually won 3rd place, which was a page from Justice League of America, an original artwork.
Wow.
I think it was not a great one. It had the Flash and Green Lantern, and they were kind of small. But I think that was lost when I moved. So lost or stolen or something, because I never got it. Never made it to Staten Island. So I don't know what happened to that. So that to me is one of the things that I always, I don't delve into it or think about it all the time, but every now and then it crosses my mind. I'm saying, I wonder what happened to that piece of work.
Jimmy?
Yeah, I just wonder, I don't know, just sitting here talking to you tonight, and I know how this has been for me as far as the YouTube journey. 5 years ago, I would have never dreamed I would be sitting here on a Thursday night talking to, some guys on YouTube, hanging out, talking about comic books. Back, you're a New York lawyer, corporate lawyer. Did that thought ever cross your mind? Someday I'm going to be hanging out on YouTube and talking to people about comic books.
No, not at all. To me, I guess the one thing that I thought I might do when I retired was join a theater group, because I like to sing. I'm not a good dancer, but I like to sing. I was in a review when I was in law school too, where we made fun of the teachers, and I was one of the lead singers and stuff in that, and so to me that I always enjoyed it. So I kind of see this as something similar. The only thing is, Jimmy Don, is that being a lawyer, and one of my clients used to always, I remember going to a client's office and he told me, "Oh, what's this guy's phone number? We have to call somebody." So I told him, I said, "Wait a minute." I said, "What do I look like a phone book to you?" So he told me, but then he said to me, "But you're the detail guy." So I never forgot that. And so after that, every time I was going into somebody's office who were going to call somebody, I had that damn phone number. I knew what the phone number was going to be. And part of that is the way you develop. And it's not just lawyers. Other people do it as well, engineers and things like that. But you become so much of a detailed person that you want to make sure that things are as right as they can be. And so with this channel, I never thought I'd be doing it, but with this channel, I'm applying some of those same things. So quite often, if I do something, I'm researching it, I'm scripting things out, I'm doing all these different things. And the one thing that I feel kind of jealous of are some people who get up there. I haven't done a live show yet, because I'm not sure I can. I might do one now. I'm going to have, I just went over 400 subscribers. Thank you, everybody. And actually I'm about 430 some odd now. So it's shot really up. I think those 3 videos on the box really did a good job on that. But one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to have a giveaway, and the video is going to come out next week. And I think then when I pick it, I'm going to have a special thing, a special giveaway, and I think I'm going to try to do a live one there. But the thing is that I think, it's almost the same type of thing. It's kind of like I wanted to be on a theater group, but I'm kind of doing theater now. And so it's a different, medium, but it's not too different. It's not even too different than when I would argue a case, or I'm a lector at church. People like the way I lecture. And one person told me, "Why?" He goes, "How are you doing it so good?" I said, "Well, I think back. I said, here's the Bible. Here's what these people witnessed this stuff. Can you imagine what that's like if you actually witness this stuff?" So when I read it as if I witnessed this stuff, And so you may want to call it acting, but it's just a matter of what the medium is and what the messages you're trying to get out. And here my message is just, hey, here's some comics that I have. Let's have some fun. Or, here's a book that I read, or, here's something else, or here's a box that I found, and so to me, it's kind of fun to do. When it stops being fun, I'll stop doing it.
Love it. Well, you have a great channel, Joe. I love your channel. I'm so glad I found
Thanks.
it. And I enjoy your content immensely, as I do, everybody on the panel, tonight. But your channel is definitely I don't know. It's just great. I love it. I've found so many good channels and so many cool people through this journey. I said it's such a cool thing, and I never dreamed I would be doing it because my life's a lot like yours. It's very busy. Running a business and doing the things that I do. Just being on YouTube, I just never dreamed that this would be anything I would ever do.
Yeah. I agree with you.
Now, was this your first live, Joe? Coming on here tonight?
No, I was on Reggie Collects twice, talking about Future State.
So you have what you need. You've done this 3 times now. You're going to be fine going live. You already know how to talk to people.
Gary, this guy he can get up in front of a group of people and sing. This stuff will be easy for him.
Yeah.
Right. And he got up in court and played cases. This live thing is going to be a piece of cake to you.
Well, we'll see how it works out, but I'm going to definitely do it. I think when I do the giveaway, I'll do it live. We'll come up with something to say or something to do. Or maybe I'll just show some of these same comics to people like seeing these comics, and we'll do something along those lines. It's just a matter of like doing it and seeing how that works out. So I'm sure it'll be fun. I appreciate the encouragement.
Oh, we'll all be there watching. You know that. Nick, you want to start leading us out, sir?
Well, the only thing I want to say is starting tomorrow night, it's at 10 p.m. Eastern, Cardboard Crazies is having his Comics Curing Cancer 24-hour live stream. So if you guys want to stop by, hang out, Joe is probably a good chance if you want to draw. I'm sure he'll love to have you on. It'll be a good time for a good cause, and just stop by and have a good time. That's all I got.
All right, we're on the road to 1,000 subs. Have that going right now. There's a playlist on my channel, the Road to 1,000 Subscriber Giveaway. These 2 guys did videos for it as well and have donated something to the live. Very, very funny stuff. Nick's great. I don't know. Chip still kills me. I think I've watched his and Nick's about 50 times each. I love both of those. And yeah, I probably, based on the drop in subs, and I should be at like 940 right now, but YouTube keeps taking subs away, and then they come back, and then they go away, and they come back. So thus far, that's been pretty good. Keep an eye out on Instagram. I'm going to do a giveaway on there to do a push for the 1,000 sub giveaway as well. And let's see, I've got a pretty cool 10 questions coming up next week. I think everybody will dig it. And then we'll be opening up some boxes, and then we'll talk about first appearances and key issues and covers and all that. And I always go over and check Joe's channel to make sure that I'm getting the proper covers. so, yeah, that's about it for me.
All right. So on my channel, and Joe, I do watch your covers all the time, but you and I have very different tastes in the books we collect. So it's always fun to see what your perspectives are and what you like. I'm 6 subs away right now from another milestone for me. I'm on the road to 700. I'm not big time like Jimmy, but I don't mind being in his wake. If you got to be in someone's wake, Jimmy's wake is a good wake to be in.
That's what she said.
Right. So I'm on my road to 700. So I'm really, really super happy that I even made it to 700. I can't believe it. We got Savage Saturday coming up. I'm probably going to spend most of my day at working tomorrow. I'll probably get about 4.5 hours of sleep for that tonight. But I got some more. I'm going to start doing some more mini-series review. I got a couple I got to read here. Like you were saying, Joe, I have them stacked to the side. I was doing that, and Nick was doing the same thing before you got on. So I just made a couple stacks. I'm like, all right, that one finished, that one finished. Just finished reading the new Tarna 6-issue series. That was amazing. For those of you who don't know who Tarna is, one of the main characters from Heavy Metal. But just some fun stuff coming up. I hope you guys will keep watching. I really appreciate everyone that spends time on my channel. And we're going to throw it over to Joe for his goodbye.
Well, as I mentioned, I did go with 400 subscribers. Thank you. I think we're up to about 432, something like that. So really a big growth spurt, and I really appreciate it. Never thought I'd get that high. So I went through my comics, and I picked out about 13, 14, 15, something like that, comics for a giveaway. And the video is going to come out, I think, on Wednesday, if I remember correctly, where I'm going to show the comics that I have, and I'm going to ask for a hashtag. I won't tell you what it is that people put down. You have to be a subscriber and so forth. And then I think a few weeks after that, we'll probably do that live show, that first live show. And we'll have a special giveaway on that live show as well. I won't tell you what that is. But other than that, I think there's a Bruno coming up on Friday. So you Bruno fans may want to show up on Friday and watch Bruno. And other than that, that's the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.
Keep it casual, guys. Awkward ending.
Forget about